What's up, my little pretties? It's your mistress, the Queen of Lions, or Shadow Lioness, however you decide to call me, as long as, well, you don't call me any nasty names. So today, welcome back to episode 66 of Shadows and Pretties. Now, the last episode I know we did talk about was How to Train Your Dragon, the first movie. And today, I decided to go ahead and watch a movie from the 90s that was a childhood to me. And that we are going to review is the live action movie of the Flintstones. Now, basically, if you guys are wondering, well, about what is the Flintstones exactly, well, I'm going to sit here and be completely honest. The Flintstones is the live action movie is based on the cartoon The Flintstones by Hanna-Barbera. They're the same people who made Scooby-Doo and a bunch of other cartoons. So with that being the case, and that being said, I decided to go ahead and rewatch the live action movie. And I have to say, I remember watching it when I was like a really young kid because I love the fact that this one had, John Goodman as Fred Flintstone, Rosie O'Donnell as, Betty Rubble, and it's got pretty good actors in this movie, and I can definitely say this live action version of the Flintstones is actually it takes place around the time where dinosaurs still exist, and even the cavemen people still existed, so they kind of live like normal humans doing this, except it's BC BC timeline it takes place. So there is another movie based on this. It's called a prequel called The Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas, which was released a few years after this movie. But I'm not going to get into the whole thing of that movie because the movie wasn't really that great. I'm just being, 100% completely honest. It was not great in their, in the matter of ways. So, yes. With that being the case, if you guys don't know the Flintstones, then you probably don't remember this movie. So, with that being the case, I am going to sit there and say, let's get started. So, this is actually based on the Flintstones series from the 1960s. And I obviously remembered watching this back when I was like a kid. Like, I know I was born in 98, so I probably saw this on VHS at one point and then saw it on DVD. So, I am going to basically explain what the plot is this. So, it's in the prehistoric suburban of Bedrock, and Slate of Co's new vice president, Cliff Cave, and his secretary, Sharon Stone, discuss their plan to swindle the company of his vast fortune, pin the thief on the employee and fee. Fred Flintstone loans his best friend and neighbor Barney Rubble his money so that he and his wife Betty can adopt a little boy named Bam Bam. So yeah, if you guys watched the Flintstones when you were a kid, you should probably know who these characters are. Who can only pronounce his own name though. Although Bam Bam is primarily difficult to control because of his super strength, he eventually warms up to his new family, and he becomes friends with Pebbles Flintstone, who is, Fred's daughter. Despite his mother-in-law, Pearl Cyclopal's objections, Fred's wife Wilma remains supportive of his decision to loan for the Rubble's money. However, Cliff holds like an aptitude test with the workers, with the highest mark becoming the company's new vice president. Barney, however, gets the highest score and switches his paper with Fred, whom knows that he still will fail, and Fred receives the promotion and complete with the executive perks such as a luxurious office and beautiful Miss Stone appointed his secretary in order to test Fred's willingness to do whatever he says. His first order is to dismiss Barney, who with Fred's test paper has the lowest score in the company. Fred is unwilling to fire him, but Cliff tells him that if he doesn't fire Barney, Cliff will fire the both of them. However, Fred reluctantly accepts this, even though he was hesitation, to do his best to help Barney support his family, even inviting the Rubbles to live with them so they can rent out their house. However, Fred's newfound wealth then puts a strain on his relationships with Wilma and the Rubbles. Cliff eventually tricks Fred into signing the forms implicating him with the company's paperwork, with the help of Miss Stone aggressively seducing him once the questions for him have been answered. Later on, Barney confronts Fred after seeing the worker riots and the news that Barney reveals to be the switch test with Fred. The Rubbles then move out despite having nowhere to live, and Wilma and Pebbles also leave for Pearl's house, leaving Fred behind. However, Fred goes to the quarry and discovers Cliff's plan to try to get Mr. Slate to fire your Cliff. However, though having manipulated the events that to make it look as if Fred stole the money, Cliff has reported the thief to the police. But however, Fred escapes with the manhunt ensues to both the police and the fired quarry workers. Wilma and Betty sees the news and then break Slate and Co. to get the Ditchabird, which was the only witness who can hear Fred's name. Unaware that Cliff has saw them through his office window, as disguised as Fred, he enters the fired workers' cave, and then he discovers that the mob attempts to hang both Barney and Fred in public. Yeah, that's basically what they kind of did back then. So yeah, a little bit of disturbing stuff, just to let you know. When Wilma and Betty arrive at the Ditchabird, Wilma tells the workers that Fred was framed and that the Ditchabird tells them that Clift was the one who fired them. Barney and Fred were then released. When the Flintstones and Rubbles return home, they find it burglarized with Dino and Pearl tied up and Pebbles and Bam Bam gone. The group then finds a note from Cliff saying that he'll trade the children for the Ditchabird. So Fred and Barney confront Cliff at the quarry, where Cliff has tied Pebbles and Bam Bam to a huge machine. Although he handed them the Ditchabird, Cliff activates the machine to stall them. Barney rescues the children from Cliff while Fred destroys the machine. Of course, the Ditchabird escapes from Cliff and then lures him back into the quarry, where Miss Stone then knocks him out. Having a change of heart after learning that Cliff was planning to betray her, the police, Wilma, Betty, and Mr. Slate arrive, and Cliff attempts to flee, but of course he is then petrified in the substance from falling into the machine. So of course Fred and the Ditchabird tell the police that Cliff has done all the changes against Fred and our charges are dropped, and impressed with the substance that Fred had and eventually created by destroying the machine, Mr. Slate dubs the substance concrete and in honor of his daughter during Concreta and declares the huge Stone Age over. Mr. Slate asks the workers to be rehired and makes plans to reduce the concrete with Fred and as president of its diversion. Having experienced the negatives and wealth of salutes, Fred declines the offer and asks the workers to be given 2 weeks paid leave as part of the salary. So what a really great story, I definitely have to say, with this movie. Like, when I first saw this movie as a young kid, I obviously really liked how the fact that, this movie had really good acting, the actors did a great job. Basically, everything about it was just flat out amazing. Like, I really do like, the actors, that were in this movie, such as John Goodman, who plays as Fred Flintstone, Rick Morris, who is, Barney Rubble, Elizabeth Perkins, who is, Wilma Flintstone, Rosie O'Donnell, who is, Betty Rubble. The villains in this were actually pretty interesting from what I do know, and I do like Elizabeth Taylor as, Pearl Cyclopo. I do really like, the fact that, the concept of it was just flat out amazing. So I definitely have to say that this, story was actually really well made in detail. Like, the characters in here are amazing. The story was awesome. And of course, with that said, the whole plot of it was just flat out amazing. When I saw this when I was a kid, I actually really liked how this went out. It was a really, really, really good movie. So I could definitely say that this movie was really well made in detail. Eventually, the producers had brought the rights for the live-action features film of the Flintstones sometime in 1985. However, they were going to work on the script sometime in 1987, but eventually rejected by that time. So, however, they submitted another draft of it around 1990, and Mitch was hired to write the script, said to be The Cross of Gapes of Wrath, which of course they ended up, having to do some more script writings and stuff. So of course, around 1991 and 1992, eventually the rights were bought by Abraham Entertainment and Steven Spielberg. after working with John Goodman in Always, which I have not seen that movie, but I might consider maybe checking it out in the near future. And of course, was determined to have him cast as Fred Flintstone, but Brian Evans was hired the director. They decided to put him as, well, Fred Flintstone. Eventually, the previous scripts were thrown out, but however, in May 1992, Michael J. Wilson submitted like a 4-page story that became a basis of the film and was turned into a script later on. So like they had to make more scripts and they had to like, figure out which one's more easier and stuff like that. So of course, they ended up shooting more scripts again, yet again in August 7th of 1993, and that's when they did more, well, the stuff that they had to, sit there and, they had to do some CGI effects for Dino, which I find him to be really amazing. So all the cast, originally was going to be John Candy, Jim Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, and even Chevy Chase were considered to be cast the role of Flintstones, Fred Flintstone. But of course, the last 4 actors seemed to be too skinny, and the suit didn't seem to be too appropriate. So of course, John Goodman felt that as if he was sandbagged to the role of the Flintstones earlier at the table and read the film for Always when Steven Spielberg announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say something before we start. I found my Fred Flintstone." And John Goodman then said, "Not a role I was looking forward to doing, but if the experience was fun." If John Goodman had turned the role down, the film would never have been made. And of course, Greena Davis, Faye Ford, and Catherine O'Hara were all, well, so considered to be the role of Wilma, but however, Elizabeth Perkins won the role, and Danny DeVito was the first choice of Barney, but he turned down the role as he felt it was too gruff to do the character properly and suggested Rick Morris for the role. So, of course, DeVito was considered third for Fred Flintstone, although Janie Turner considered Rosie O'Donnell, who won the role of Betty Rubble, and the impersonation of the cartoon's signature giggle, with certain characters that were also considered to do the role as well. Of course, Sharon Stone, who wanted to play Miss Stone, but it turns out that it turned down due to schedule conflicts. The role was offered to Nicole Kidman and a bunch of other actors who was also considered, but of course, with that being said, there was considered to be a lot more stuff. Like, I hate it when they say that they want to, originally use, this actor to play this character, but then the actor either turned down the role or the other people won. But I really am glad John Goodman was in this movie because, if you guys know John Goodman, he was Santa Claus in, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer the movie. He was Sully in Monsters, Inc. He was also Baloo in the Jungle Book 2. So that's actually one of the reasons why I like John Goodman in this. Because I love movies that have John Goodman in this movie. Because John Goodman did a really good job as Fred Flintstone in this movie. As a kid, I loved a lot of John Goodman's movies. And I still love him today. Like, most of his movies nowadays are pretty good still. But, even though he's in his 60s, this movie is still going to be one of my childhood favorites with John Goodman. So, of course, the film began progressing and, filming around May 17th of 1993, and it was finished on August 20th of 1993, so it was taking place a few months, and parts of the film were shot, in the Grand Canyon in Utah, as well as Los Angeles and California. So there was also some examples of bedrock that were constructed into Vegas rocks in California. Before being demolished, the visitors could visit that location. So, despite the negative reviews that the movie got, it was a box office success, grossing about maybe $130 million, just over that. And of course, during the 4-day Memorial Day opening weekend in 1994, it performed even better internationally, making it more. And yeah, the critical responses for the aggression site, they have, the film had approved a rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which had been, with different reviews and stuff. Despite the reviews, the different things, McDonald's had marketed the Flintstones production of the film, sometime including of the McRib sandwich, which, of course, that was something around there. So, of course, glass mugs and toys based on the characters or location of the film were released around that time. So, you could definitely say that was one of them. Now, of course, Universal Pictures Home Entertainment released the film on VHS and later on CD sometime in November of 1994, but later on it was on DVD in March 16th, 1999 and on Blu-ray, eventually came out in 2014. So, of course, they do have a video game based on it. Well, I think it's for, Game Boy Color and stuff. It's called the Flintstones own software game. So, like that, there is a video game based on it. I don't even know it so much. So, with that being the case, let me talk about Viva Rock Vegas. I know it's not really a great movie, but I thought, you know what, I'll just go ahead and explain it. Now, the prequel, The Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas, was released eventually in 2004. Well, no, wait, 2004, scratch that, 2000, a couple years after the first movie, but the original main cast did not reprise their roles as the characters, although O'Donnell did provide a voice for the octopus who gave a massages to younger versions of Wilma, and Betty. Of course, Iron Keys returned as role for Joe Rockhead, the only cast member to reprise his role in the entire film. Like the first one, it received negative reviews, but unlike the original film, it was not the box office success. Mainly because, well, it didn't do as well as, they thought they were gonna have a good, as they were, this is basically about, before, Pebbles came into the picture. Viva Rock Vegas. Unfortunately, it did not do as good as the first movie. Like, I wasn't really a fan of this movie when I saw it. I obviously just wasn't really, a fan of it per se. Like, when I saw this movie, I wasn't. Well, I saw it when I was a kid, and I wasn't really a fan of it back then, and I'm still not a fan of it, so that's actually one of the biggest reasons why Viva Rock Vegas did not do as well as a lot of people thought it was going to do. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But with that being the case, I am going to sit there and say, with that being the case, and with that being said, what did you guys think of the live action Flintstones movie? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what have you done personally to help make this, movie a lot better? Did you like Viva Rock Vegas, which most likely most of you guys don't? Also, what we have done to make those movies a whole lot better? Well, that movie a whole lot better, and the movies a lot better. Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. Yet again, if you don't like these movies, I respect your opinion. If you like one of them or both of them, I respect your opinion too. So, with that being the case, what did you guys think about these movies? Did you like the first Flintstones movie? Most likely you did. Did you like the second one? Which most likely you don't. And also, what we have done personally to help make Viva Rock Vegas a whole lot better, and or the live action of Flintstones a lot better. Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so that you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, I will be catching you all in the next video, so peace out everyone, and as always, I'll see you all next time.